Happy countdown to Halloween! Less than 100 days now, and even less than that until the fall season starts. I've seen Halloween stuff trickling into stores, and I've purchased my first Spooky Towns of 2018, so I was really excited about that. And I guess, all this thinking about Halloween time really made me want to kind of go on a Halloween-y trip. So I took a weekend excursion and I ran away to New England because it's just far enough away from home where I can kind of like make a weekend out of it and drive there, but it's just close enough where I don't have to fly and all that. So I was staying in Salem, Massachusetts, and I decided on my way home to go to a place that I have never been before, and I've wanted to go since I was a teenager, and it is the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. For anyone who isn't familiar with this case, I'd be really surprised if, I would imagine mostly everyone has heard of it, or at least, heard the jokes about Lizzie Borden before. But the house, the infamous house where the murders were committed, is a B&B and a museum now. So I couldn't resist going there, and it's another one of those places that I read a book as a kid about the murders, and I remember it had like picture inserts, and they were like really gruesome, crime scene photos. And I'm a true crime nut, so I was, even at a young age, I was really like wowed by the story and the fact that it, remains unsolved. And so I finally fulfilled a bucket list item and went to the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. So this episode is all about Lizzie and the the 40 wax. Now I will tell you, you will learn a lot if you go on a tour to this place. So I first want to give a very important shout out. My tour guide when I was there, his name was Rick, and he was phenomenal. Not just in, he was really funny and fun and, informational, but you can tell that he is intrigued by what he knows and wants to only grow his knowledge. So he continues to read books and things that come out with new information about the case and about Lizzie's life. So he was really like a most excellent tour guide. So just five stars to him. He was just really, really awesome. And so I was actually kind of surprised when I got to the town because it kind of looks industrialized. Like there was a lot of warehouses, and I guess I was expecting in my mind that it was going to be this like quaint little New England town. And so I was like, this is interesting. And then like you just turn a corner and then here's this, perfectly preserved old home. And so you're kind of like, whoa, okay, this is where I'm going. And so when you get there, it's great. They have a little part in the backyard, like you pull into like a parking lot, and they have like a little place where you go to buy your tickets, and it's like a little souvenir shop. And I could not resist buying an amazing bumper sticker that says "Ask me where I've been." And so you get your ticket, you wait, and while you're waiting, they have movies that were made about Lizzie Borden, or documentaries and things, playing on the TV. And so when I was there, they had The Legend of Lizzie Borden on, which was a movie made in the 70s with Elizabeth Montgomery, and everybody would know her from Bewitched. I would wiggle my nose for you, but I don't think I can. You have some entertainment while you're waiting, and I'm like all amped up to go in, and Rick is my tour guide, and he's chatting with me while I'm in there, and he actually gave me some of his potato chips because I missed lunch, and he was just really the nicest person ever. And so you go inside, and it's like you're transported into another world. They have preserved this house so well. It is amazing. When you walk in that door, you're in a different time. And so just walking in that first room, the way that it's set up, and photos and furniture and wallpaper and the feel and the smell and just everything, it just kind of transports you back in time. And so it's like you start being told the story, and now you're in this. So I'm going to take a step back. For anybody who doesn't know about the Lizzie Borden murders, there is so much information you can find online, but here's the short version of it. So at the beginning of the video, you would have seen that little blurb about it, and that's really what is true. on August 4th, 1892, two bodies were discovered in the Borden home. So the body of Abby Borden and Andrew Borden. And so they were brutally hacked to death with an axe. And it wasn't 40 whacks. It was probably somewhere in the 30 range, but still a lot of whacks were, were given. It's like whacking day on The Simpsons or something, and like it's just it is a really brutal crime. You can see photos of the bodies, and you know it's very infamous and has gone unsolved today because whereas Lizzie was the only one in the house and the maid Bridget was outside washing the windows, there was no one else there to commit those murders, but yet a jury was able to acquit Lizzie and find her not guilty. And I have my own theories on this, but okay, so when you're taken into the house, you're given information about what life was like there. And Andrew Borden was a very wealthy man, but he was very stingy. And so you can imagine that would really like cause some animosity, you know, with him and his young daughters, because people were starting to, have indoor bathrooms and things like that, and they were not. They were still using chamber pots, and so and they had an outhouse in the yard. So you can imagine that would be, motive enough probably to really have some anger issues. But the story kind of goes that you learn a little bit about their life, and you're taken room by room through this house. And so what the coolest thing is they've converted this entire house into a B&B. So any of the bedrooms in the house you can stay in overnight, and then they serve you breakfast in the morning. But the rooms like the main parlor and sitting room, those are just community spaces. So I didn't stay over. I went for the daytime tour. I do hope to do an overnight one day, but I would like to do it. They offer where you can actually rent out the entire house, and it's like a flat rate for up to this amount of people. And the reason that I would want to do that is as you kind of go through the house, when you're taken from room to room on the second floor, the bedrooms are all connected by a door. There are no hallways. So if you want to get the full experience of being able to freely roam the house, I would imagine that it would be coolest if you knew everybody so that you can kind of walk through. Anyway, okay, so you walk through the rooms, and I remember getting into their kitchen, was where this tour starts to get really good and juicy, because you're learning a bit about the day that the murders took place, and that Lizzie was supposed to be ironing at the time, and they have the replica iron and the cloth on this table, and you're in this room, this enclosed room, and you can experience the sounds within the house. So the story goes that she didn't hear anything, right? And Bridget the maid certainly didn't hear anything, and so it's kind of odd when you're in there, because it's not a soundproof room by any means. You would be able to hear someone in the kitchen, or a room over. So it's that kind of puts some flaw in Lizzie's story, and so no matter how you look at this case, it's either that Lizzie was a woman who just lost it and decided to do what she did, and she got away with it and got to live the rest of her life moderately happy. I mean, they say that she was very lonely in the end of her life, but I mean, for her time, she had money and she had a home and things. So, but on the other side, if she didn't commit these murders, then she lived her life as a branded woman. And so either one of those fates is pretty rough when you think about it, because you'd have to either live with the guilt of what you did, or you'd have to live with the idea of everyone thinking that you did it. So pretty rough stuff either way. So you go into this kitchen. They tell you while you're in there that the autopsies of Andrew and Abby were performed on the table in that room, which is so creepy and cool. And they weren't performed on the table itself. They have like it's kind of what we would have today as a mortician slab, where it has like the drainage around the center, around the edges, so like the blood and juices and things can come out. Juices, that sounds so gross. And so instead of having that back then, what they had was kind of like a wickered fold out where they would put the bodies, so when they cut them, everything would just fall right through. And so they have this curio cabinet in the room, and this was super fascinating to me. They have pictures of Andrew and Abby's skulls, And so I'm gonna mix this up. So if the people running the museum are watching this, please don't make fun of me. But it was either one of them was hit. They approximated 19 times, and the other one was, I think it was like 11 or 12. So the skulls were just completely like broken in and deteriorated, as you would imagine. I mean, an axe blow to the head alone is enough to really mangle someone. So they have pictures of the skulls, the actual crime scene photos, and then they have replicas of what those skulls would look like. So in this case for you to see, and so I was extremely taken with that. I found it to be really fascinating, and you now walk into other rooms of the house, and you go into the infamous room of Andrew Borden's murder. And so you walk in the room, and it looks exactly like it looks in the photos. I was blown away. I had chills up my arms. I've seen those photos hundreds of times in my life. So actually being in the room where it happened, there's a feeling that I think, I don't know, that kind of comes over you where it's like, wow, this is incredible to think about. Now, obviously, it's not the same couch anymore. I would imagine they would have disposed of that couch because it was probably filled with brain matter and all kinds of yucky, gross things that probably would fascinate me. But in the room, they have this replica couch, which is very similar if you photograph it. And then on the other side of the room, they have a photo of the crime scene. Yeah, so the crime scene photo, and so you're looking at it adjacent, and then they have this very... I felt like it was a very snarky move to kind of like they have a picture of Lizzie, across the couch. So it's just, ties it all in together. And so it was really fascinating to see that. And you continue on through the tour, and as you go up the stairs, they tell you to look when you get to a certain step, because that's the vision of what, anybody coming in the house who would have seen the body of Abby, they would have seen her from this step. And so you look, and so I actually have chills like just thinking about it, because it's just such a surreal kind of thing to really know what happened to someone there. And so you walk up the steps, and then they take you right into that room. Whoever purchased the furniture and things for this room, it is so incredible. It is almost identical to what was there when the murders were committed. They have photos there for comparison, and it's amazing. It's kind of I don't know, it's a really interesting experience, I think, everybody kind of has a morbid fascination with death, especially, some people are like less freaked out about it than others, or maybe that's how we deal with it. And so it's not a matter of like glorifying, something terrible that happened, but it's historical and informational, and it's I feel in a way that it actually helps keep their memory alive. So it was just really powerful to like kind of see that space. And then they kind of take you through other quarters of the house, and you can see other bedrooms, Abby was actually murdered in a guest room. So you can see Andrew's room, you can see Bridget's room. Like, they take you just through everywhere in here. Sorry about like if the lights are getting wonky. It's like really weirdly cloudy outside, and so it keeps getting really bright and really dark. So, but maybe it should get darker so it like fits the mood of the spooky story. But so yeah, so you get to go through different rooms of the house and see how they lived. And I really enjoyed, as we went up to the attic, we were taken into the maid's quarters, and Bridget's photo was hanging on the wall, and Rick told a story about how a guest one time was making fun of her photo, saying that she looked manly. And so he decided to kind of poke in fun and made, like kind of a tasteless joke, and he felt somebody push him. And he said, oh, like, I think I really pissed her off just now. And so they say that room is the most active room in the house in terms of paranormal, kind of stuff. I didn't see anything while I was there. But again, when you're walking on a tour, you're also only there, for a certain amount of time. You don't get to sit there alone. So there was a creepy little rocking chair in the corner. And then there was another room around the bend that had these creepy looking dolls just sitting there. They had no reason to be there except to creep me out. But all in all, it was an absolutely awesome tour. It's somewhere that when you're driving through New England, or if you're on your way somewhere else in that direction, stop there. It's really awesome to see it. They do tours almost every single day of the year, and you know, it's really not very expensive. We were in there for over an hour, you know, just getting immersed in this horrific experience. And so I don't know, Lizzie, did she do it? I mean, it's hard to think that she didn't do it because she was the only one there, but I wasn't there. I don't know, right? They did have a guest in the house the night before the murders, which is very fishy. He was the brother, so he's Lizzie's uncle, but he was the brother of Lizzie's biological mom, who had passed away years earlier. Now, you know, they say that he was there to kind of settle some financial things, so that could also be a motive, right? I think the court's biggest issue was that they had a hard time believing that a woman would have had the strength, right, to administer the blows the way that they were given, but also when they came in, it was supposedly, they believed that it was only minutes after the murder happened. Lizzie did not have a drop of blood on her. And not only that, she wasn't disheveled, like, and sweating the way that somebody would have been after just committing a horrible axe murder. So she was either really good at what she did, or she just had some really bad luck. Very interesting fact about this place that I learned when I was there. The movie that they were showing in the beginning, which is actually pretty good. You should check it out. It's actually free on YouTube. It's called The Legend of Lizzie Borden. It's again, it's with Elizabeth Montgomery, and she played Lizzie Borden in this movie. She was great, and she found out after the movie was done filming that she is related to Lizzie Borden. She's her cousin. How weird is that? She never knew. So just a very wonky, weird, you know, kind of, what are the odds that that would be? And so, you know, definitely you can learn a lot on this tour. You can, you know, it's definitely something spooky that you can do in the off season because they're open all year. So I super highly recommend it. And I have other things from my trip to New England that are going to be in a separate video. I was really hoping to get to Count Orlok's Nightmare Gallery, but sadly I missed their opening by like 2 weeks. They were renovating. They just moved to a bigger space. But the next time I get out there, I'm going to do a video about them because they are one of my favorite places in Salem. Please check out, if you are on Tumblr. If you're not, I can send you links through my social media, but I am going to be doing a write-up about the Salem Inn. That's where I stayed when I was in Salem this time. It's a haunted hotel, or supposedly haunted hotel. It's supposed to be haunted by 3 ghosts. You know, I actually booked it not even knowing this, and so I learned some more history while I was there, which is awesome because I'm such a history nerd. So you can look out for a blog post about that, and then my next video coming out, I guess I can give you guys a clue. I don't know if you want. I personally can't think of Salem without thinking of one of my favorite Halloween movies of all time, Hocus Pocus. That's all I'm going to tell you, but the next episode that I have will be about Hocus Pocus. So hope you'll tune back in for that. If you're enjoying my content, I hope that you subscribe. Oh, and I opened up my own Etsy shop. It's called I Love October. I just started to make pins. So actually I'm wearing the first one here. You can see this on my social media accounts, but I actually have some other designs being made, so it's gonna just be kind of like an online little Halloween-y inspired shop. So feel free to check it out, give me a follow on there, and until next time, stay spooky, and I'll see you soon.